that run this world. NASA was started by a Nazi rocket scientist. Once you have the kids' minds, they grow up and it becomes cemented, blowing around kind of like a bouncy house. It's floating like a balloon. This is Russia landing on the moon.
Who's filming it?
Who filmed Neil Armstrong getting out of the lunar module?
How could they pull that off?
It is a film production. Again, trickery, totally fake. Apollo 9, 11, and 12 have the same Earth. The clouds are the same. There's a tinfoil and curtain rods. This is an umbrella. Would you put your kid in there and then submerge it in a lake? This place was created for us. We are special.
COVID-19 originated in animals sold in a so-called wet market in China.
All steps for man, giant leaps for mankind.
Welcome back to another episode of the Conspiracy Conversations. And it is what it sounds. There's things that are called a conspiracy that, for the most part, you're just really not allowed to talk about. You're not allowed to think about. And we call them conversations because I like to sit down and have a legitimate conversation with someone who has spent thousands of hours in private churning over something. Probably somebody's written a book, made a documentary, done the work to be able to come to the table, to come in public and say, hey, here's what I've found. And they take it and they set it on the table and then walk away, let you chew on it, which is something that kind of seems sort of fundamental as human beings. We should be allowed to think. We should be allowed to investigate and study. You know, the last couple of years have taught me one thing. They say follow the science. I'd probably say follow the silenced more than anything else. Who's not allowed to speak? What are you not allowed to talk about? That interests me. That makes me infinitely more curious. If they're like, nope, you can't go in this room. You can't talk about that. You're only allowed to talk about these things over here. Matter of fact, we're going to kick you off of all social media if you talk about this certain thing, or we're going to put a little warning label, say, hey, we know you're supposed to be intelligent adults, but we as your government overlords do not think you're smart enough to weigh this out on your own. And so we're going to tell you the real truth before you even watch this video about medications that we want you to take without your informed consent, or about the economy, or about what we're doing. Like, we don't want you to look in this room. And before you even do, we're going to discredit anybody that talks about this thing and put a warning label there before you even click. That's how.
And we're not going to tell you about this room. We're not going to tell you that the room's there.
That's exactly how dumb we think you are. So I'm having a conversation today with somebody that I have tremendous respect for because he's smart, he's fun, and he has done the work. You can love him, you can hate him, you can call him a lot of things. You could even call him late for dinner, but you can't call him wrong, because I've never had any of you willing to come and sit down toe to toe and discredit his points. And so I hope you got a pen and paper and you're willing to go and say, hey, I think Rubik's Cubes are white, but this guy is going to come along and kind of show me this other side over here that maybe they're red. I don't know. Or maybe both are true. And what I know maybe can't stand up to the test of investigation. So we will find out over this next hour. So welcome to another episode of Conspiracy Conversations with Mr. Dave Weiss. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is so fun. I look forward to these so much. It's like dessert for my brain, you know, or something else. It's just, it's fun because you stretch it. And I've watched your stuff. I've had conversations with you, but every time I end up with pages of notes of stuff that I walk away. I'm like, I don't know. That's pretty far out, even for Dave. And I take notes and then I go watch the video, look up the website, buy the book. I probably have about 8 books now that it can all be traced back to things that you've poked me on and challenged me on. And I'm like, if I'm going to disagree and think you're wrong, I want to know why. I think you need to have the receipts when you say something's true. And if I'm going to say something's not true, then I probably should get the receipts for that as well. So I always enjoy these conversations.
And I tell people, don't believe anything I say. Go verify it. I'm going to point to some doors, right? Go verify what's behind them. And the other big criticism I get is, oh, where did you get your information from? YouTube? Well, YouTube is a storage place for tons of information, lots of hidden information. If you're lucky, you can find it, but it's just a place where we can put some things and other things, Rumble and BitChute and all these other things where you guys are. These are just places to get information. It's just like life. You can take it all in, sort it out, and get rid of the garbage. Okay. And again, we've done the work. It's all done. I mean, the debate is over for anybody that takes the time and look, but I'll throw it back to you in a second. It's easy to believe. Belief is the enemy of knowing, as Crow 777 Radio says. Belief's the enemy of knowing. You can believe anything you want. You believe my name is David Weiss, but did you ever check? Did you ever confirm it? Do you know it? Right? Nope. Now, that'll take time and effort to figure it out. Yes, it is. Okay. Right. But people are just like, it's easier to believe because then you can just go take a nap. Right. So again, once you start looking into truth and you start seeing the deceptions, now you can just see right through them. And life is so interesting. Boredom is not a word in this community.
No. And it's not. After you kind of, I don't know, man, it's probably been 2 years now that I've been, listening to you having conversations with a wide range of people. And I was kind of the kid too, that grew up in school, and I'd be like, well, how come this and how come that? And, school wasn't really designed for me a lot. I was kind of, sitting there kind of, tapping something. And, I'd been better with maybe more interactive, learning, but I was very curious. And I would just ask why a lot. Well, then how come? Well, why is this? And a lot of times teachers just be like, well, just because I said. And, that really wasn't enough. And when you get into a couple of topics specifically that I want to, the reason I have you on here today, I started texting you and blowing you up. I'm like, I have questions, and I always have, when it comes to this kind of topic, I've always had a question of moon landing. I've questioned it. Like if that took place, every vacation I've ever gone with my family, everywhere I've ever gone, I took a photo. And if I was on the moon, one thing I would want to see would be a picture of the Earth. And I've never seen one of the Earth that wasn't CGI, that wasn't autocorrect, that wasn't a cartoon of some sort. And so that was a question. And I've always had a pretty fundamental problem with the space program in general, with NASA. I think they have an incredibly big budget. I think a lot of money goes there. I think it's not accounted for, and not a lot to show for it, at least in my lifetime. In the 50 years I've been walking around here, there's not a lot of progress to show in relationship to how much we spend there. So I really want to get in your brain today and find out, what do you know about the space program, NASA specifically? And when I see these films and this footage of Nixon talking on the phone, his rotary phone inside of, in DC with perfect clarity. And then I look at today, if they're going to do a football game at Arrowhead Stadium, they got like semi trucks and vans with giant satellites and stuff to project a football game from down the road. But they were talking from the moon with like a little, antenna with some aluminum foil on it. So even as a kid, I would look at that and I'm like, there's a place called the Cosmosphere Space and Discovery Center in Hutchinson, Kansas, where I grew up. And so as kids, they'd take you there for field trips. And I would look at this flimsy aluminum foil based stuff, and I just instinctively was like, are you sure? And this was in the 70s. And so as time has gone on, I look at the cars we had then, I look at everything that was around in the 70s, and I'm just baffled even more so as we go along. I know you've spent more time on this topic than anyone that I'm ever going to run into. And I know our listeners are super curious by it. I love that you always got the images behind you. You got the receipts, you got the details. And I'm just excited to see what you got to say on it.
Dave, there's a lot of people that have done a lot more work than I have. I just have a wide range and an ability to present pretty well. So don't call me the leader. I'm just one of the guys with the loudest mouth, and I'm here and I know enough to cause you to rethink your entire life. Let me ask you a question. And I don't know if I asked you this last time we talked, but when you're flying into your home airport and you look down and you see your house and you're flying alone, right? You're at the window seat. What do you say to the stranger next to you? Look, there's my house, right? Yeah, right. You got it. It's my house. You're so excited. On the moon, the dialogue on the moon, if you look at the transcripts, never once did they say, oh, look at the Earth. Never once did they say the word Earth. Okay. I mean, the Earth is 6 times bigger than the moon from the moon, right? Looking at the moon, and it's where you live, and it's rotating, and it's colorful. Wouldn't you just be screaming up and down, look at the Earth, oh my God, look at the Earth, look at the Earth?
Absolutely.
That's all that. Nope. They were taking pictures of rocks, and they would just ignored the Earth because, in my opinion, educated, informed opinion, they were on the Earth. There's very few photos from Earth, but in 2012, we got this picture. Okay. What do you see in this picture? What do you see?
Some clouds. It looks like a little bit of North America. maybe.
A little bit of North. This is all North America. You got a little bit of Canada here. You got Baja. You got Mexico. And comes over. This is just the top of South America, right? Here's Florida.
And perfectly round, which is really it's a very nice circle.
It's perfectly. And you know what's funny? If you look at a map of the world, this is the Mercator map, right? It's supposedly the globe laid out flat, right? And if we look over here, not only did they take these exact dimensions, but they took the exact paint job. Look, they took the exact paint job, right? So,
wow, that's a really good graphic.
When you look at a ball, from this far away, everything else, all of this land, all of this would have to be on the other side of this ball. Okay. All of that would have to be the other side of the ball. Are you kidding me?
Interesting.
Right. And then when NASA says, thank you. When NASA says, look at these photos of Earth. Oops, I'm showing the wrong thing here. Hold on, let me just clear that. These are all from NASA. Which one do you like? Okay. Because if one of them is real, then the others are fake. If they're all real, they can't be, right?
Right.
These are images. Here's the 2012. Here's another one. If you look at it close, America is way, way, way smaller. People are like, they didn't have CGI back then. They didn't have Photoshop back then. How do you know what they had first of all? But here's a question I have. I'm going to show you 3 photos. You got this guy, everyone knows who he is, and you got this guy.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you that one of them is a painting.
Really?
So if one of them's a painting, which one would you pick?
I don't know the guy in the middle, so I guess I'd go with him. The others
So
look like perfect photographs.
So I gave you, this is what's called a false binary. Okay. They're all paintings. Okay. None of them are real, but no, this is how they get you. They give you a false binary, hey, right. The Republican, the Democrat, I'm going to pick this guy. Yay. It doesn't matter. It's all false binaries. Right. And so these are all fake. So
those are
what's
all
harder?
Fake paintings. Wow.
Those are all just photorealistic paintings. Okay. And, they could do worse. They do way worse now. I mean, they got guys talking in real time in his voice. You've seen this, right?
Sure.
And so when people say, that they can't do that. This is also a painting. Look at the detail, the glass and everything, right?
Wow.
And
the light reflecting the glass. That's amazing.
Amazing. That's a painting. What's harder to paint, this or one of those?
And the thing is,
guys?
I've held a glass in my hand. I know what I mean. I have. What would the Earth look like from outer space? Man, I don't know. It like, okay, where is like that image you're showing there? Where is it taken from? Because they present that as this is a photo. How far are they trying to tell us that a satellite would get from?
I think it's a million miles away or something. It's a ridiculous distance. And there's a time lapse. I wish I had loaded that one of the Earth spinning, right? Well, the Earth spinning, that means that satellite a million miles away is making a 2 million mile diameter circle, keeping up with the Earth for that 12 or 24 hours that it went around. It has to move and hold Earth in a perfectly perfect, not a pixel moving out of frame. That's just, if you believe that, I can't help you. Okay.
So
people,
if they're going to say that, like, let's say this is the Earth, how in relationship, I mean, I've seen the Neil deGrasse Tyson stuff where he's like, he talks about the Red Bull guy jump and stuff like that. It's like a piece of paper width away from the ball, basically. Even when Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about it, it's like you're right by the ball. So, like, how could I take a photo of my house if I'm 1 inch away from the front door?
Right. People say, "Where's your photo? Where's your photo of flat Earth?" And the answer is, if you were in a room with 10-foot high ceilings and the room was 20 miles wide, could you take a picture of the whole room? You couldn't even see a quarter of a mile down because the ceiling and the floor would meet and create a horizontal eye zone, the horizon, and there's no way or position that you could take a picture of the whole room, right? People don't seem to understand that, right? And if you've been to Las Vegas at the Bellagio, the lights are touching the floor at the far end of the hallway. If you go to one end of the hallway, the lights literally
Sure.
are touching the floor.
Sure.
Okay. So if extend that hallway out for a couple miles and have somebody walk down a couple miles, you can't see that person anymore.
So
and when they look up, they see different lights. It's everything explains, the deception. Go ahead.
If you're watching this right now and you're like, I don't know if I can handle all this, like, don't let the shape of the earth though be a pill you feel like you have to swallow to talk about the rest of this content, because Dave's coming at it from this projection. It's hard for me to talk about life or food or something like that in general without bringing up how great Kansas City barbecue is. It's just going to come out. That's what I talk about. That's my reference on something. And so like the shape of the earth is a thing, but also like the main question I got here, and then we'll get there from this point, is the space program and the technology that they're saying that they use to prove this, for me is suspect.
Here's the thing. We're gonna pivot away from the idea that the earth is flat, because a lot of people have a hard time with that. But what I'm going to tell you is everything that's going on in this world, from the space programs to all of the deceptions, all relate back to where you live, who you are, where you are, what this place is. And that's the deception that keeps us as slaves for the corporations, for the people that run this world. So we're going to go into NASA. I'm going to show you that all the space programs are in it together. It's all fake. It's horrible if you actually look at it. And then when you come to that realization, say, hey, you know what? He just proved to me that this stuff that I believed, that my entire childhood and life and pride of the nation was all tied to, is fake. All right, now let me reassess. And that's all I want you to do. Listen, reassess. And as always, I'm offering 3 Bitcoins for 1 proof the earth is flat. I mean, the earth is a globe. Sorry. I almost lost 3 Bitcoins.
You guys, take him up on that. If you're out there and you're like, Dave's an idiot. Well, okay, then I'll host you. Come on. I've tried this for a year. I just don't know. I can't get anybody. I've had a couple of really smart guys that I've had conversations with. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. I can't really articulate it that well. I don't know. It seems like it would be easier to prove if you know for sure. But I would love to host a debate if somebody feels like they could have a conversation and prove him wrong. That would be an incredible episode for me to have. I would love it.
Here's the thing. There's some people that we call anti-flat earthers that are out there. They're just really deceivers, and they'll make so many comments that don't have any substance behind them. They'll use math and equations, and I could show you math and equations that can explain anything. I could show you a flat table and show you an equation that makes the table a sphere. Okay. These people are not, they're not out for truth. They're out for deception. But we'll take any professor, somebody that's, in a university, somebody that, that really wants to have an open discussion, is willing to learn. That's the kind of conversation I'm looking for. Wondering why I'm wearing Psalms 19:1, right? Psalms 19:1 is the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Well, for those of you that don't know, our NASA was started by a Nazi rocket scientist, alleged rocket scientist, because there really was no space race. And on his gravestone, it says Psalms 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Why is the head of NASA, the founder of NASA, talking about a dome? You have any ideas?
On his tomb.
On his gravestone. That's all it says. Yeah. That's all it says. His date, his name, and Psalms 19:1. Is that revelation of the method where they always have to tell us? Is that a deathbed confession, or is that just poking at us? Like, hey, what are you going to do about it? We'll just put it here and, and laugh, because I think that they love laughing at how really, I don't want to say dumb or ignorant. Ignorant's a better word, but how lazy people are. People are lazy. I was one of them. I was ignorant, dumb, and lazy. Okay. When it came to this, because I didn't take the time to look. I took 4 years of astronomy in college, and I was awesome at it. Okay. I was great at it, and it's all pseudoscience. Amazing.
Wow. Well, you can see how quickly people are to fall in line on something that they're just told enough. I think the last couple of years, with pandemic stuff and everything else, people lost their ability to even do risk assessment. Like, I can't come to your house, Dave, because it might be raining tonight, and people get car accidents when it rains, or something. It's like, yeah, maybe, but you're probably pretty safe. But you're like, well, there's even one chance something could happen. The odds, like, we forget how to do actual risk assessment and make those kind of decisions. But that's because of media and programming. We saw its impact on people, and I was amazed at how quickly people fell in line when they're just told something over and over. They get 4 or 5 points of reference. They assume, hey, consensus equals truth. You can get 9,000 people to tell you something wrong that make it true.
Yeah, right. People just hear things and they believe it because, you know, we're run by the headlines. They turn on the news. And why would the news lie to us, right? If you're, I don't think any of your listeners are at that point where they just believe the news. But here's just a sample of articles about asteroids just missing Earth, right? Because they're like, they keep missing. We need NASA, right? Asteroid the size of 23 bonsai dogs. Okay, then the next 22 tuna fish, right? Then 6 Darth Vaders. Okay, these are mainstream in science magazines. Eggplants, 48 eggplants. That doesn't sound very big. Okay. 90 elephants. That's a big one. Thank God that didn't hit us, Dave, huh? That would cause some serious damage, right? 787 matzahs. And guess what? That one hit on Passover. Okay. That one happened on Passover. Absolutely. These are in science magazines. They just go on and on. I stopped saving them. Okay. 69 American alligators. What about an African alligator? Are there alligators in Africa? Right?
Crocodiles. I don't know.
Yeah, it goes on 18 platypuses. All right. What is going on here? Okay. These are mainstream articles. I think AI is writing these articles. Okay. I don't even know there's people behind them, but they're out there. People read them like, wow, that's really cool. And I think it's to attract the kids, because once you have the kids' minds, they grow up and it becomes cemented. You know,
it does create fear. You don't want to walk outside and be like, holy crud, is something going to land on me? You know,
right.
It's like the witch and the Wizard of Oz or something.
Right. 100 hot dogs. I don't even think that one would make a crater. Come on. Isn't that kind of funny?
It is. What's the purpose of that, you think? Because you think with the gravitational pull, if they were coming by anywhere near, they would get pulled into our.
Well, you don't understand momentum and gravity. Flips them around and then he throws them back out in space.
Slingshots them somewhere else.
Comet comes around our sun, goes out for 76 years before it comes back. Somehow, even though we're traveling 4.5 billion miles a year, it finds its way back. The sun's traveling at 500,000 miles an hour. Okay. And for 76 years, and somehow that asteroid comes back and finds the sun again. I mean, think, people, think. Let's get over the rockets.
I know a lot of people brought up to me when the Georgia Guidestones got, blown up or whatever happened to them. It really hit them. They're like, so we can look through the holes in these rocks and it lines up with the exact same star all the time. You know how that works. I think a lot of people that made them really scratch their heads and kind of look at things a little bit different.
Yeah. I mean, and the problem is it was up for over 40 years. And it should have moved more than 0.5 degree, which is, like over the width of the moon, like a width and maybe 2 widths of the moon. It should have been well out of that hole. And the fact that there's a hole in the pyramids, a path, or what am I saying? A hole. We'll just call it a hole in the pyramids, a shaft in the pyramids that points towards the North Star. And you're like, wait a minute, how is that still pointing towards the North Star? And the argument there is, it was pointing towards Thuban, a different North Star 2,000 years ago. And we just have time where it's pointing, towards our North Star. But the Georgia Guidestones was made to point at the North Star, and it proved that we're not moving. Okay. And that's why they got destroyed, a terrorist.
When we're at live events and a lot of people come up, they'll be in conversations with me. It's a funny thing with this topic. They kind of come up, they'll kind of look around like this a little bit, and they're like, I really like those shows you did with that Dave Weiss guy, and it's like, here's where I got to thinking about that. The Georgia Guidestones is a big one, but they come up like they're one of, like I wonder if I'm selling weed or something, it's like that kind of like, hey buddy, I like that show you did with Dave Weiss. It's like, it's interesting, because people are really curious and they enjoy that conversation, but the Georgia Guidestones got a lot of people thinking.
Yeah, it certainly did. So this is the space shuttle, right? Now I contend that this is a helium balloon, like a Macy's Day Parade balloon. This also, maybe there's a little bit of some combustion stuff in here that lights on fire, and that this is also a balloon, and some also stuff that's just a balloon. NASA owns all of the helium companies in the world and is the largest consumer of helium in the world. Okay. Why? Right? You can make up excuses all day. This weighs 4 million pounds and there's a little breeze, and you can see that it's blowing around. Okay? It's blowing around in the wind.
Wow.
Give you a different look, different view. Here it is, blowing around kind of like a bouncy house.
Well, I wouldn't want to ride on that thing.
How does 4 million pounds blow around like that? And so this is what I really want to show you. So this is the external tank. It falls back to Earth and it burns up. It deatomizes. It falls so fast. Now, that camera didn't accidentally see that windowsill. This is the guys on the shuttle. They disconnected from that. They're on their way to space at 25,000 miles an hour to get out of orbit. Okay, they're on their way up. This tank that weighs like 10 tons empty is falling back to Earth, but somehow they were able to orbit the entire Earth and catch up to that thing and still see it. Okay.
Wow.
And they show you now, does this look like a seal? Like this looks like a airplane window to me. Okay. I don't know how that's going to be in space. And then people say, oh, well, how did they get, I can see the curvature of the Earth. And I show people this, and they're like, I see the curve. You see the curve, right? And there's clouds. That's why you're not seeing land, right? And you always can tell that it's the space shuttle because I just paused it. You always see part of the International Space Station. I'm sorry. This is, I told some people this is from the space station. Not sure if you saw this. And then they'll swear up and down, and then they'll say, well, it's really not. It's a picture we took in our front yard, and we just turned it upside down. Okay? That's how easy people are fooled.
Wow.
Okay.
It's hard. That's why magic shows are so fascinating and people love them. I mean, your eyes can play tricks on you. You've seen these pictures of it's like the blue and the green dress or whatever. People, like which color is it? And everybody debates something. It's like your eyes can just mess with you. Yeah.
And I have a bunch of illusions I can show you. But so now this thing, they're filming this. Does this look like it's floating? Now watch what happens. This is Felix Baumgartner, the Red Bull jump. Watch how fast he falls. Okay. 180 pounds, 200 pounds, right? This thing is 10 tons. Is it floating or is it falling? And worse, the guys that are filming it are on their way up at a ridiculous, incomprehensible speed. How are they keeping this in frame? Okay. So we're watching this. And then we saw something, right? Watch, here it comes on the right side. 3, right over here. 2, 1, right there. You see that? I'll show it again slower. Okay. So what is this? What is this? It kind of looks like a quadcopter, like almost like a drone of some sort. And I think it's an airplane. It's a balloon recovery vehicle. All right. So here it is. I'm going to change the contrast. There it is. What is that?
I don't know. It's something.
It's some sort of aircraft that's cloaked, for lack of a better word. It's hidden, and it was caught on camera. Okay. That alone says this is fake. This thing floating there, even if it was being filmed from a helicopter.
So where did you get this footage? How did you acquire that shot?
This is NASA. They've pulled it from their website, but this is official NASA footage. Okay. This is from their live stream.
Wow. So other than changing contrast or anything like that, that's
all we did. That's all we
by you or anything else. That's just
right. And here's the other thing. This is them filming, and they're like, "Oh, we're going. We've orbited the Earth, and it's falling back to Earth." Now this thing's falling, and it's going to go so fast that it's going to deatomize before it gets to those clouds. But don't look that far away. I want you to watch right over here in about 5 or 10 seconds. You're going to see a piece of tissue or something float by, which is going to give you some perspective on how fast. There it goes. You see it? A perspective on. I'll show you again.
What was that? Like a
a piece of. I don't know. I think it's like a piece of tissue or something that fell out of the drone or whatever. But it gives you an idea of how fast it's going. It's not going fast at all. Okay. It's floating like a balloon, right? On my app, our Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, on the More Resources page, which is the web button, there's a button called Rockets Are Balloons. Don't believe me? Watch those videos. It'll show you how they did the lunar module coming back from the moon landing. It'll show you a whole bunch of things, and then you can make up your own mind. But I put it all together in a way that is, you're going to hold your head, you can cry a little bit, And then you're going to realize, wow, I've been deceived my entire life. This is unbelievable. So,
wow.
Before,
I'll make sure we tell people, we can do it at the end as well, but your app really is an incredible thing to have. And it's like, was it like $3 a year or something like that? But
$3 one time.
One time. I mean, it's silly.
Right.
But the amount of tools and resources and things, if you even have 1 gram of curiosity about what's going on in the world, like I don't know how you came up with the technology of it and all the people that went together on that, but it's pretty amazing for a networking tool, a daily videos, the resources you have on there, the clocks, all the different things. It's really a great educational tool.
It's our history, old world technology. We've been lied about our history. That alone will take you down a rabbit hole of years of research. But these are all the people that have it, and you can contact these people. There's a whole social media module coming out. It's going to be amazing, and there's people all over the place. And I've never met a blue dot I don't like, and these are awake and aware people, and it's quite the tool. So.
It's fascinating. I think it's a great deal. Now, how do people go directly to get it?
You can find all my stuff, my YouTube channel, and subscribe to my DITRH, which is Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. It's all at flatearthdave.com. All the links to everything is there. Also, Dave, we're having a conference in Las Vegas, October 20th and 21st, that weekend, Saturday and Sunday. It's called Flattoberfest, and the link is right on dave.com. And it's going to be a blast. I'm not sure where you're going to be, but if you can make it there, you can meet some incredible people, maybe get some interesting interviews.
That would be interesting. I love this conversation. So, okay, your app is a great tool. Let's keep on the space program. Some of the things that you think of with them, like, well, how could they pull that off? Well, if you had an unlimited budget and 0 media resistance, you could pull off a lot. I don't know what their annual budget is, but if you got virtually unlimited financial resources and it's impossible for either the media or the educational apparatus that starts putting a globe in front of you in preschool, if it's impossible for any of those institutions to push back, and the one that probably should be questioning it a little bit would be the church, just doesn't, because they don't want to, like, well, I don't want to, I got enough problems as it is. I don't want to fight on that front too. It's kind of interesting. So you can pull off a lot, though, if you have an unlimited budget and 0 media resistance.
Right. And on the app, there's a biblical flat earth button. And I just encourage any pastor, any churchgoer, watch those videos. If you love the Bible, watch those videos. If you don't believe in the Bible, watch these videos. Yeah. They're all truly amazing. And there's one in there, I think it's the top one. It's like 8 minutes long. It's called Dear Pastor. Send that one to your pastor. Okay. It'll if he's using his God-given common senses, which I hope he is, it will light a fire and wake him up. It's fantastic. It's by Matt Long. You interviewed Matt.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I'll put a link down below. Matt wrote a book called The House That Jesus Built, I think is the name of it. Phenomenal book. You can read it like in an evening. It's just really quick. But we'll put a link to that episode down below. It's one of the first conspiracy conversation shows that I ever had. Matt's just a clear-cut, great thinker, and he's got a great book. You'll enjoy that conversation. We'll put the link to that down below as well.
Right, and his book is linked in the book section also on the app.
Good, good.
So we got the space shuttle. We showed you that it is a balloon. Now, this is how they fool us. There's 2 different types of launches. There's actually 3.
Okay.
One is they launch something that's actually being launched, and whether it's a balloon, a drone, whatever, a smaller version, no one's allowed near it. All right. Then another one is they launch something that's fake, and there's no one there to witness it. And the other thing is they don't launch anything at all, and they just tell you that there's stuff in space. It's crazy. But so this is about thrust. Okay. Now, David, have you ever been in a hurricane or a tornado?
Yes.
So a hurricane, 150 mile an hour winds are devastating. They'll pull, cement poles out of the ground and cement, 250 mile an hour winds, forget it. Every house is destroyed. A tornado, maybe 300 mile an hour winds will tie light poles into knots and shred trees into toothpicks. Yep. And that's room temperature air, just a regular ambient temperature outside with, 300 mile an hour winds. Look at this fence right here. what's coming out of here? Is it room temperature? No, it's not. It's thousands of degrees. And is it coming out miles an hour, or is it coming out over 17,000 miles an hour? Because we know that the orbit is 17,000 miles an hour, 17,500 miles an hour to catch up to the space station. So the thrust has to be at least that amount. So 17,000 mile an hour, superheated, and nothing. The fence doesn't even shake. These people are 11 miles away, but they want you to make you think that they're right there. They can't even see this thing until it's up in the air because it's behind a tree line and it's this big. Okay, they're so far away they can't even see it. It's way there, and they want you to think it's right there. If you Google space shuttle launch, this is what video will come up. Watch it because there's a couple things. So this goes right, and now watch right here. It goes up, and then it goes back down. 4.5 million pounds doesn't go up and then come back down, right? Then you got all of this smoke. Now, is there a smoke trail on this? Yes. Are they launching something? Yes, they're launching a balloon, in my opinion, right? You have all of this smoke that's coming out of the ground, but you'll see a smoke trail, as we all remember. I'm editing a couple times here. When the Challenger blew up, it had that smoke trail. So something was launched. Let me just jump forward a little bit. And so we have this launch right here. So it's going, and it kind of looks like it's petering out. And then when they switch to this shot, this isn't real. This is nothing. You're not seeing the smoke plumes. You're seeing this, and this isn't really happening. This isn't up there. Okay.
So where is this taken from? Who are they saying is filming this? Where is it?
This could just be, filmed at another time. It could be a miniature, and they're just showing it close, right? So that part right there, this is when the external solid rocket boosters come off. And they always tell you, once those solid rocket boosters are lit, there's no way to turn them off. So they're still thrusting. Then all of a sudden, explosive bolts go, and they come off. Now, this thing, I'm pausing. This thing is going at least 17,000 miles an hour right now, okay? How are these things going sideways at 17,000 miles an hour? How's that possible, Dave? Like, if you're on a car going 100 miles an hour and you hold your hand out the window like this, you could, but you go like this, your hand's going to rip right back, right? That's at 100 miles an hour. 17,000 miles an hour. How's that thing going? How's that going? And then when you watch this, you hear it and see it at the exact same time.
How fast is the speed of sound?
The speed of sound is like 700 miles an hour. They said it was 35 miles downrange. Let's just say it's 20 miles downrange. It would take 90 seconds for the sound to catch up to the lights. 90 seconds. That's a minute and a half. But we hear it at the exact same time. So what you can determine from that, it is a film production. Okay? It's a film production. Right?
A big show.
It's all a big show.
But everybody walking up to it has been watching these their whole life. So you're assuming, there's so many assumptions in what you're thinking that you don't question even what you're seeing. And so it's easier to continue the illusion going on.
Absolutely. And people just can't imagine, lie big or, go big or go home. That's what they do. This is what am I showing here? This is it wobbling again. See it wobble? It's wobbling. 4.5 million pounds doesn't wobble. Wow. Sorry. Okay. If you don't know anything about inertia and weight like that, it doesn't just go up and down and wobble side to side.
Man.
So, all right. So here's another thing to think of, right? An airplane, a jumbo jet, it's pretty streamlined. Think about a jumbo jet. It's all smooth, right? You got the wings, everything. It's all smooth. You don't have like a junction box sitting on the outside of it, a square junction box sitting on the outside of a plane. Everything is aerodynamic, right? 747, or Boeing, Airbus, whatever. They're kind of clunky, but they're still pretty aerodynamic, right? And they go 550 miles an hour, maybe a little faster. Okay. So then we have the SR-71. Okay. The SR-71 Blackbird, right? This thing can't even have paint on it because the paint will peel off because it gets so hot from the friction. It goes over 2,000 miles an hour.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. When you look at it, is there any air resistance on this? No, this thing
No.
is big.
And
This
it's
thing
tight.
goes Mach 3.2. Okay. This thing, which is less aerodynamic than a Boeing, Airbus, goes Mach 33. Okay. It goes, 20,000 miles an hour.
It's
This
about as
thing goes
aerodynamic as a school bus with wings.
Yes, absolutely. And this thing, if it goes any faster, it starts to rip apart. It actually starts to rip apart. It can't go any faster or it starts to rip apart. This thing, no problem with this big tank on it. Okay. With this big tank, it's got a PVC pipe going down the side with square brackets on it. It's got paint on it. Excuse me. It's got
That's great questions.
Yeah. Why doesn't the paint burn off? How come there's all of this? It literally has PVC pipe on it, which it blows my mind that people don't see this. The SR-71 is going so fast that it would have to nose down 80 stories. That's almost the height of the World Trade Towers were every second to follow the curve of the Earth. Okay. 80 stories a second. That's how fast the Earth would be curving away.
Based on the formulas that are presented of how many inches per mile or whatever that the Earth curvature is, based on their numbers. Right. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Well, based on their numbers, 100%. And there's no arguing it, but they'll claim, well, gravity is holding it around. Whole nother argument. At the end of this, I'm going to bring you guys one globe proof with airplanes that absolutely cannot be debunked. And it's a proof of the flat Earth. It's a globe destroying proof. So we'll go from there.
When did the SR-71 Blackbird, when did it come about in relationship to the first space shuttles?
Hasn't that been around before, long before? Didn't it come out in the 70s or even 60s?
I don't remember. It's been around in my idea a long time, and it kind of has that look also like, like the stealth bomber. Those things have been around for a while too, that have no friction on them, just clean and tight. They fly over here a lot for Chiefs games and stuff like that.
Right.
And even a flyover at Arrowhead Stadium, they're still like, when it comes over, it goes over and the sound follows. And I'm sure they've slowed that thing down to its bare minimum to do a flyover football stadium.
Right. So I'm going to show you. I was talking about the different types of rocket launches. So let's look at this one. So you got all this smoke that comes out the side. How come it doesn't block the camera view? It's very convenient. So this one has no smoke plume. Okay. These people are not looking at a rocket launch. This is just edited together. This is like a back screen.
So the smoke coming out of the shuttle launch is kind of hit or miss, depending on the day.
Well, no, it's no different. The shuttle always had smoke because they're always launching something real. This is a fake launch. These people aren't there. When we see crowds like this, we zoom in on the people and they're like looking in the wrong direction. They're holding their phones up, but there's nothing on the screen, right? These people are probably cheering at a football game or something, but it's edited. And they want you to think like, oh, look, there's witnesses. No smoke plume. No smoke plume. Right. So let's look at another one. So this one is.
So what are these launches of? Are these in like China or different things? Or
that was a Chinese one. This is SpaceX. This is SpaceX. Okay. So again, these people aren't really here. This is launching something real. It's leaving a smoke plume, just like we always saw all of the old NASA launches. The moon landing. They launch something. It goes up into the sky and it crashes out in the Bermuda Triangle or Point Nemo. There's places in the ocean where nobody is, and they just crash these things there. And they say, oh, when somebody finds, they go, oh, that's a decommissioned satellite or decommissioned rocket that was just, that landed there or whatever. But it's just excuse after excuse. Here's another one. And which one is this? So this one, let me jump forward. This one takes off. Again, no smoke plume. You got this close up, right? This is literally, I think this is a cartoon. But when they don't show anything below it, there's nothing there. This is not it's not a real rocket. And this one I'm not sure if I showed this last time. I call this the 2-pack rocket. So it goes up again, fake rocket, because you got all this smoke down here and then just perfect little clean, looks like a little blowtorch. No smoke. But they had a glitch. So it's going, and again, they're not showing anything below that. And some glitch happened, and watch right here, the rocket disappears. Right? Ready? It's gone. See that? You see that this like layer that happened? Let's zoom in.
Wow.
Yeah. What's going on there? Again, trickery. How exactly they do this? I don't know. Okay, is it a hologram being projected in the sky? I don't know. But it's not a real rocket. Not a real rocket.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then
But here's a question. I mean, I'm just going to kind of fill in with what listeners might be thinking, like, okay, Dave, I get it. There's things you can look at that might be a glitch here or there, but how could you have all the people that get the rocket out there and built the knobs for their stuff, and everybody, like, somebody would spill the beans, right? If they're like, hey, why are we building this thing? And it's not, how could you keep that many people quiet? The Biden family is having a tough time just keeping their business partners quiet and all their international donations. How could they keep a whole program the size of NASA? How could they keep that?
You and I work at a factory that makes the engines for the rockets, and we really work hard, and we get it together, and we test it and everything, and then we ship it off to NASA. We make satellites; they ship it off to NASA. You ever see anything go into space? You're making real things. Now, if NASA wanted to control, the quality, they would hire a couple companies to make all the parts. But for the moon landings, they hired over 20,000 companies. 20,000 different companies. This way, everyone can say, my grandfather worked on the Saturn V. Therefore, you're calling him a liar? Nope, I'm not calling him a liar. There's people that work at NASA that have no idea. One of the controllers in the control room said, we practice so many times on simulations that we can't tell the difference between the real thing and a simulation. You know why?
Well, because if you're just in a control room looking at computer screens, it could be.
It's all a simulation. Yeah. So look, this is a rocket launch, right? And it just goes up and it flames out, and then they show you a cartoon. They switch to cartoon mode. This is going around the curve of the Earth. Okay. Right. And it goes right from here into the Bermuda Triangle where there's no boats. And if somebody happens to be there, normally they'll just cancel the launch. Like, oh my God, a boat got into the restricted area. Launch is canceled because of weather, But then if somebody happens to see something, something weird happened. This boat disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. And then less people even go there. Okay. So it's the same thing. They have another one called Point Nemo. Look that up if you want to learn some stuff. But so check this out. So this is, a regular NASA launch up and over the curve of the Earth. But an airplane, thank God they leave these long trails, just goes in a straight line. And it looks like it's getting lower due to perspective. We know the airplanes fly straight and level. So this is a straight and level line. What is this? This is
crash, like the arch in St. Louis.
Yeah. It's just crashing right in the ocean. I mean, all of the NASA launches, they all just go up and crash down, right? They all just go up and crash down, except when they show us, this was seen from the space station, the launch, right? Totally fake. This is just fake. This is, I don't even think it's going up 25,000 feet. That's it. And it just goes and disappears. And people are like, oh, it's in space. Very crazy.
Well, because you're always working against people's assumptions. Like if I assume that's what it's going to do, then that's kind of what I see.
Right. Did I show you the green? Did we cover this this rocket from SpaceX?
Now, we've never really done a lot of rocket stuff or any NASA stuff. It'll get referenced from time to time, but I like to have you on once a year or so, nothing else, just to kind of like clean out the cobwebs and get everybody ruffled up and irritated. This thing
is gigantic. Okay, this is a drive-by. This thing is huge. You can drive a truck underneath this thing. Okay, this is massive, right? So here is a real-time, unedited launch where they show us, again, before it takes off, edit. Oh, we have this. This is the onboard camera. And look how slow this thing is going. Again, clean flame. All the smoke down here, clean flame. Okay. Now we got a far shot and we got another shot. Now think about the angles. Okay. This camera's filming the side of this. Can't be up that high. But when you look at it from up here, it looks pretty high. Now look, the engines look like they're already petering out. Wait a minute. It's up really high. Now the engine's going out and it's about to free fall. Okay. It's free falling now.
What the heck?
This thing, I'm pausing it. It weighs several tons. It's free falling and they're filming it. Now use your God-given common senses. Look at the smoke that's coming off this. How fast is this thing going? Now look at the smoke. It's even slower. What is going on here? Is this a balloon? What is this real? Now, oh, look how high it is all of a sudden. You can almost see the curve of the earth. Maybe that's the curve of the earth. Okay. And now this is falling. Now, again, how far away would this have to be if it was that high to film the side of it? It's like, what is filming this? Right. Then it's going to show you one more. It's way up here again. Right. This is in real time. This is a live stream. Right now, 3 engines are going to turn on. It's magically going to stand upright. And the cameraman's going to go right underneath it, edit right underneath. And then 2 of the 3 engines are going to burn out because they can't even get their fireworks right. And so one off-center engine is going to land this thing in a whole bunch of CGI smoke. It's going to land it perfectly for a bullseye. Okay. CGI smoke. And it lands upright. And Dave, do I say, look how they shape their rockets? Because they just constantly, rub it in our faces. If you think that's real, I can't help you. But this is what they showed us as real. Amazing, right?
So what's the upside? Like, maybe you can speculate. So like, why would Elon Musk or Sora and what's his name? Jeff Bezos, like what's the upside for them getting into this game?
Well, I believe they're just puppets for the real controllers of this world, and they're promised, whatever they're promised, fame and fortune and whatnot. But they're, sometimes I wobble back and forth wondering if Elon Musk even knows that he's running a fake space program and they're just fooling him also. Nixon, when he called the men on the moon, was he being fooled and just believed it also? I think it's easier to fool a president than one of us. The question is, I don't know the answer to that. So I want to show you another thing, and we're going to go to the moon in a moment. So they land these rockets upright. Any engineer will tell you that this is impossible, right? Trying to balance a Harrier jump jet with 4 props, right? This has got just one. It's falling out of the sky and landing upright. And so they have it in space here. Right. This is the first stage. It's falling back to Earth and it's going to land on a raft that's 800 miles off the coast of Florida. No one's out there. It's a drone raft. And it's called Sorry, I Still Love You or something like that is the name of the raft. And it's going to land on it. Now, Dave, out in the ocean, there's currents, there's waves, there's wind.
Yeah.
Up in the air, there's 200-300 mile an hour winds. How does this thing, just using these little milk crate flaps, steer itself and land on a raft in the middle of the ocean? Okay, with nobody there. And this is what they show you as a live stream, and everyone claps. Look, oh, there's the raft. It lined up perfectly. This thing weighs like 10 tons. Okay, those legs that come out. Oh, it froze. Darn it! It froze just before the landing. Let's hope we go that it unfreezes. So we wait. We get a black screen, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, back to this. And so then you look at this tinfoil. And then they keep switching from these 2 camera views, curved Earth, and then flip back. Oh, no, it's not showing. It'll show it again in a second. So this is another landing. So it's showing you the rocket view and the ground view. They're a little out of sync. You can say that's just the thing. This is what they showed you, right?
Oh,
I mean, it's just like somebody could be holding this little model, right? Falling out of the sky. It's going to find that raft and it's going to land on it. Oh, it landed on it. Beautiful. This is all they have to show people, and people will just believe it. People just believe this stuff. Okay. Here's another one. falling out of the sky. And Dave, I've been out in the ocean. Very rarely is it calm and not swelly. Every single time they land, it's calm and not swelly. Okay. This thing, you can drive a car underneath these legs. This is gigantic. Okay. And it's falling out of the sky. Concave Earth and then curved Earth will show back and forth. I think they just do that to confuse your mind. So you really don't know what to think. Right.
And you can blame a lot on the lens and the view of it.
Well, they say that, the vibration shakes the camera and it loses its connection just before it lands. And then after it lands, oh, there it landed. Yay. Okay. A bullseye, a bullseye. Okay. Mm-hmm. Every single time that happens. And people just allow this. People just allow this. Right. What is this? There's atmosphere there. But it's why doesn't it hold a piece of tinfoil out of your car on the highway? Tell me what happens to it. Okay. This thing's going 20,000 miles an hour and, curved Earth. And then it'll show you, oh, that one didn't show it again. Again, it just, these are all different landings I'm showing you. Let's see what happens with this one. Then I got a better one to show you. Oh, it went out. It just went out and then it just cut away. Okay. This is coming down. Ready? It's coming out. Let's see. Oh, man. And it landed.
It looks like cheap science fiction effects.
And then, so if you know
again,
about,
I'm just like naturally kind of skeptical and not that trusting in government to start with. So I guess when I look at these things, I'm just kind of like, I want us to be able to do some of these magnificent, incredible things.
I know, but Dave,
but it's like, come on.
Watch this one. So this one's coming down. You're going to watch it here, and then watch right here. The little box up here. It's like they got their layering messed up. Ready? Oh, what's that? What's that box? See that?
Mm.
What is that?
It's an editing error.
Yeah. Now, did they do this on purpose? I go back and forth. There it is. There's the box. I'm just going forward and backwards. So it's showing you that there's deception here. This doesn't just happen. Oh, it's an artifact because of the transmission from the satellites, over the curve of the Earth. I mean, people just say anything and go, oh, well, that sounded really good. I'm going to believe that. Yeah. So you have to believe that it lands out in the ocean 800 miles and then a tugboat brings it in, doesn't tip over or anything. Maybe they strap the feet down, but this is huge, huge.
Goodness sakes. NASA. And then what's the connection? How much is done by NASA in conjunction with SpaceX and, these different private entities?
Well, SpaceX is the private arm of NASA, so we can't FOIA request them because they're a private company. But NASA has all access to their computers and back room and everything. So it's literally SpaceX is run by NASA, but it's a private company, so we can't FOIA request. Even though we've FOIA request many things, spacewalks and everything, and they charge us a fortune and they don't send it for a year. And then when they send it, it's all blanked out. It's all like, oh, it's just all cameras turned off. Like, oh, sorry, we didn't know, because we catch them all the time on their live feeds. And that's it. This is not NASA. This is the Go Fast rocket. Have you seen this, Dave?
Yes, I've seen this clip. I've seen on
yes. Yeah, so this went straight up and uninterrupted, unedited footage. We're spinning, but it's uninterrupted footage. It hits something, okay? And when it hit something, it just started floating weird, and it saw the moon. There's the moon. That's impossible on a globe because it was here in Arizona, and the moon was here. So if you had a basketball, you're a millimeter, half a millimeter above that basketball, and the moon is directly below the basketball. How would you see it?
Hard.
You can't see it.
Man.
Not hard. Actually impossible.
Wow.
Let's go to the moon. Wanna go to the moon?
Yes. This is my biggest question mark. I'm like, all these goofy things, and maybe there's good answers for it, of especially based on the time they did. You know, when I was a kid, we had this Ford Falcon, and these like these crappy cars. Barely, most of them didn't have electrical windows or anything. At AM radio, but we could go to the moon, and they can land on it, and then somehow film its exit from the moon to rejoin the spacecraft and get man back on it, and then come back home. It seems every year it seems less possible.
Yeah, well, we're going to make it impossible right here, right now. People are like, what about, the Japanese? They went there, and now India. This is India. India's going to the moon right now. They got something in orbit of the moon. They're going to land on the moon on like the 20th of August. This is their footage. Right? This is their footage. Right? They always have to do a little bit of a selfie, so it's from space, but this is their footage of the moon. If you can't see this, I can't help you. And then we have this. This is years ago, Russia landing on the moon. Okay.
That was nice.
Come on.
Nice landing. Who's filming it?
Great question. Who filmed Neil Armstrong getting out of the lunar module? There's a guy on the moon filming the first step of the man on the moon. Okay, but they don't want...
looks like public television when I was a kid.
So let me show you something. This is them taking their lunar module thing out. But here's the thing. This is actually, I believe, from a movie, from an obscure hidden movie that may have come out after this was shown. But this was shown as real footage. Then years later, they're like, oh, no, that wasn't real footage. That, this is what they showed us. It's like the big article on the front of the New York Times, David Whited, robbed a bank and he got away with me. And then you're like, I didn't do it. And so 2 weeks later, they put a little thing on the back page like, oh, David actually didn't rob the bank, but nobody sees it. Everyone remembers the headline. And this is what people remember. Right. So how did we go to the moon when we didn't have, iPhones and computers? This woman wrote the code, all of this paper. This is all the code in pencil. She did all of the calculations herself. Nobody else can do it. And they lost the papers, David.
You're kidding.
They lost
the Rosetta Stone.
They lost the Rosetta Stone. Right. And why would NASA need a studio like this with the giant moon and a track for a camera and all sorts of stuff like this? Why would they need this for? What would they need it for? Okay.
Practice.
Practice.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's
Remember Ocean Gate that just happened recently, right?
Yeah, the submarine.
Yeah. So out of nowhere, countless structural engineers appear across the world saying, analyzing what happened here on this submarine. It's been over 50 years and not one has analyzed this thing. Okay.
Because you
out of nowhere.
Well,
you can't.
But that's my pushback on this whole thing is certain things you're allowed to think about, other things you're not allowed to think about. When I say allowed, it's like truly by the tech overlords of even what information isn't taken away from you or made impossible to find or anything else. You can talk about that submarine. It was the most talked about thing in the whole world because it's a beautiful distraction from other things that are happening in the news they don't want you looking at.
There was really nothing in the news that day other than Hunter Biden's charges got dropped and JP Morgan and Epstein emails were released and 1.3 million of them accidentally got destroyed. And something happened with the Fed. They approved something absolutely ridiculous, something with CBDCs being, pushed forward. That's all unimportant. This is important. A billionaire decides to go into a metal tank, to go down to the Titanic. It has no windows. It just has a TV screen. Why do you just stay on the ship, on the couch and drink a martini and watch it on the big screen?
That's a good question.
Okay. Why would you go in a windowless thing down there? Okay. It makes no sense whatsoever. right? And it's called Ocean Gate. Why? What's up with that? Sounds like Watergate to me, right?
It is Watergate.
Speaking of Watergate, we got this guy, okay, talking to the men on the moon, right? You know, Richard Nixon was trying to end the CIA, and that's when they Watergated him.
We've done shows even with Roger Stone going through those details. Yeah.
So
Kennedy as well.
Again, the Red Bull jump 127,000 feet, mission control directly under him, lost contact. They couldn't speak with him at 127,000 feet. They're like, jump now. We're losing communication. But yeah, 250,000 miles, no problem. Okay. Right. We're told we live on this globe and we have these Van Allen radiation belts. You have the ionosphere. You have all of these, magnetic fields and energy fields that protect us from the X-rays and the gamma rays from the sun and from space. And without them, we'd all fry. But radio signal, telephone call from the moon can just go right through and make it down to a receiver and plug it into the White House. No problem.
On a rotary phone.
Yeah, well, it was connected through an operator, the operator with the headset plugs it in. And it but how's that little radio from a little battery pack, right? On the moon makes it all the way there, right? And people are so lazy. Apollo 9, 11, and 12 have the same Earth. The clouds are the same.
Wow.
I guess so. There wasn't a lot of weather back in the 60s and 70s, right?
Or a lot of curiosity.
Right. And this is Japan. They got this cool picture recently during an eclipse, right? We zoom in, we could see the lunar eclipse, the shadow of the moon on the Earth.
Okay.
Why do people believe this? Because it's at an angle? Because it's tilted? Because it's tilted. Because when you tilt it, people can't think straight.
I just think people just see it and they're like, oh, okay, and they just go on. I don't think there is even a thought on it.
Yeah. People think, we say, well, how come their feet didn't have any smooth on the bottom, but then we see this grid, and then they'll go, well, they had over boots on. Well, there's no story, there's no showing of over boots everywhere. And the other thing is, you ever try to put a crisp footprint in dust or sand that doesn't have moisture in it? Because there can't be any moisture in space because it's a vacuum. Google water in a vacuum, in a vacuum chamber. It turns to gas immediately. Okay. Right. So you can have water, but we have this crisp, thing. And then the crisp footprint, then the Mythbusters, the paid agents that they are, they go, well, the sand on the dust on the moon is very coarse. And they got this other dust and they tried to make the same thing. It barely did that. And like, oh, myth solved. It's so desperate and pathetic what they do.
Now, when they're the ship blasts off, maybe you're going to get to this. I don't want to cut you out of the thing, but one of my big questions is always, how come it doesn't like have much of a cloud? I mean, it creates all kinds of smoke when something's launching from a concrete pad, but if it's launching from, a dusty dirt field, there was almost nothing.
Yeah, well, that's because there's no air, Dave. Well, there's no air. The pushing off of, but I got a worse problem.
Like lift it up.
Here's a close up of the panels, Dave. Look at this. These gaps. Okay, this is a spaceship. I mean, look at this. Look at this gap. This is a gap. Okay, this is a gap. This is tinfoil and curtain rods. It's absolute insanity. So here's the launch. And again, who filmed the launch? How did the film get back to Earth? Right? Were they filming digital in 1970? Okay, the thruster is down here. This thing's going up. There's no engine on it. The engine's left down there. So this thing goes poof. It goes up into space, and the orbiter that's going like 2,000 miles an hour just meets up with it, and they connect.
And it's sending this video footage feed live to that capsule that they're saving on a hard drive until they get back.
I don't know, Dave. They won't explain it. But the nozzle is down here. The nozzle's down there. So when it goes, the nozzle's still there. There's two men not in seats in here. Okay, they left the golf cart and the golf clubs and everything. Right? Does that make any sense?
No, not at all. That one's never made any sense. It looks like a combination of something kids would make in junior high for a science project and really cheap alien movie stuff from the 60s or 50s.
They would fail. I would fail them if they made that. So 3 astronauts went to the moon. One of them stayed in the orbiter doing paperwork because they have lots of paper. And the other 2 went to the moon and looked at rocks, didn't look at the Earth. Took 1 picture of the Earth, which is proven fake. But this guy's in the orbiter alone, and he's floating things around. So this is probably just done in a 0G plane. And oh, look, floaty. Why is the camera panning up? Who panned the camera up? Okay. He's told to just check this paper and then float it because that'll just get everybody. Who's panning the camera up?
That's a great question.
Who's panning the camera up?
Good question.
You only see little short clips because back then they were doing this in this scene was filmed in a 0G plane, and they can only get a few seconds of weightlessness. So check this out. So we have the sun over here, okay, and his shadow's right here. Okay. Now there's only one source of light on the moon, the sun. So now let's watch. He's going to do his little bunny hop. And so we're going to pan to the right, panning. We're just going to the right. And here he is. All right. Now the sun's kind of behind, is going from over here, and his shadow's going that way. And we're panning to the right, and the sun's on the other side.
Wow.
The sun is over there now.
Do they try to explain that as they did a full 360 or something like that? Or
no, they won't explain it. And so check this out. Here's when panning to the right. This is the middle shot right there. On his helmet, you're going to see 4 square lights. Ready? Studio lights. There's 1 and 2. You see them? 1, 2. He's going to turn his head. You got 1, 2. Come on, turn your head, buddy. Here we go. 3, 4. You see it? Okay. So what could that be? Right? I don't know. Maybe it's something.
Are those reflected lights, or are they supposed to be like light?
Those are reflections. No, those are reflections in his visor.
On his visor.
Be something like this.
Wow.
Studio lighting. Right? So this is the lunar rover. I actually think they just went to Hawaii 5-0 and stole some beach chairs and a beach umbrella. Okay.
That's what it looks like.
A dune buggy. And actually one of our researchers literally took this picture and compared it to blueprints, and it's a Wrangler Jeep chassis. Okay. It's a Wrangler Jeep chassis. Look at this, Dave. You zoom in on this. This is literally weaved beach chair. It's got the little beach things. This is an umbrella, painted gold. There's duct tape on these fenders. And there's a shot. I think this might be the shot where you can't see. There's no tire tracks. So like, how did it get there? Okay. And then if you watch the footage of these guys driving around, it's like they're dolls. I don't even think they're real. They're just standard. It literally look like dolls that are taped in there and put around. But if you look at the cost of this thing, Dave, it was $38 million back in 1970. Today, for the cart, 38 million. Today, for 37 million, you can get this. Okay.
Wow. There is so much money that's pumped through this program. It's unbelievable.
I don't actually think that money actually goes through the program, because if they had that much money, they do a better job. But NASA gets $70 million a day. I think it's just a black budget. I think they're really cheap with NASA. They're like, yeah, we'll give you $10,000 a day. And do your best, and just make sure you fool everybody. And I'm not sure,
The rest of it goes to like CIA budget or something else, or
all sorts of, dumbs and, all sorts of stuff that we'll never have access to. Here's something, Dave, and anyone Google this, things exploding in a vacuum chamber, vacuum chamber. You put a soda can in there, explodes, right? Anything you put in a vacuum chamber explodes when you take the air out, when you take the air out from around it out, except spacesuits, which I just call snowboarding suits. They don't blow up. Why don't spacesuits blow up? What? Because there's no pressure. They're in there. Well, the trolls like, well, there's layers of fiber. Show me an example here on Earth of something in a vacuum chamber that doesn't explode.
What if you get into a vacuum chamber here on Earth in a spacesuit? What happens?
We've made that challenge. Mark Sargent has a challenge. He'll go, give me one of your spacesuits, put me in a vacuum chamber with somebody else wearing a spacesuit, and they'll never do it. They actually did it once, and before they got all the air out of the chamber, the astronaut passed out, and he said his tongue started to boil, and they literally had to depressurize it faster than they should have because he was going to die. Right, and that's the only time they've ever done it. Right.
Wow.
So, yeah. And so this is like, one of the iconic shots. I'm not sure if this, I don't think this was the first step on the moon, but you got the Earth here. And when we put it in Photoshop and crank up the levels, we see a box around the Earth. Okay. I guess they never thought that we'd have Photoshop and we'll be able to get this information. Wow. Pretty crazy. This is just one technique of people jumping around. I thought that was kind of interesting. Another thing is, when they're on the moon, these are all the moon landing spots from all the missions, but somehow they get shots like this, where you got the moon over there. The moon should only be above your head on all of those spots because the same side of Earth faces, the same side of the moon faces Earth.
Right.
So the moon should never be over there. The moon should only be there, right? This is the moon. And this is what you see. The camera is the Earth. That's where the Earth is. The Earth isn't over there or over there, right? But we see the Earth across the surface. The moon, the Earth should only be above, okay? Unless they're lying about where they went on the moon. I was one of those guys that said, you know what, they did fake what we saw on TV because they can't let us see the real moon missions because there's aliens up there. There's people up there. And I literally said that. And I still have to go to therapy about that.
So, would we be able to see with a good enough telescope the stuff we've left behind? Because they've been there a lot of times, left a lot of garbage.
Well, now they're going to, Artemis is going to land on the backside of the moon. So no, we can't. But they literally have, I wish I had that photo. If you can probably look it up pretty easily, of they show the lunar lander and the tire tracks, and literally it's a picture of a dusty, dirty surface with one pixel, a dot, literally a square dot. Like, that's the lander, and then a line, like that's the tire tracks. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. And just to make empty claims like that, it's very, very pathetic. What is this one here? Oh, so this is them jumping on the moon, right? What is going on here? And on the moon, why are we, I'll pause it a second. Why are we moving so slowly, right? Why slow? Because if there's no air or resistance, wouldn't you go faster, right? So do they have like wires on them? Are they hanging from something? There was one scene that we lost it during the YouTube apocalypse back in 2017, where they literally were in a warehouse and they had like a 15-foot balloon tied to the astronauts.
Yeah.
And as they could jump around, just like this little baby jumping around, right? He drops something, his hammer, and he can't get it. So he's trying to ready, jump, and let me get it. I can't get it because the spring, whatever it was holding him up, wouldn't let him go down.
And there's some of these too where they're running and then like they fall on their face and then just hop back up on their feet. I've seen shots like that.
Yeah, many of those. And this one right here, this is Buzz Aldrin in Hawaii. It kind of looks like the moon landing area. I don't know. Is that a coincidence?
A lot like that.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
In black and white though. You gotta go to black and white on the moon.
And 1970s technology. You got batteries, you got air conditioning. It goes from 200 and plus degrees in the sunlight to minus 250 in the shade. So it's a 500-degree swing. Get one of these spacesuits and put somebody in the Death Valley in California one summer day. Just have them survive 3 hours out there, 2 hours, an hour. I don't think it could happen. There's no way that they could be in this thing. And first, again, it would explode. There's no possible way. Right? This thing is cooling and heating and airtight. Come on.
What kind of batteries did they say that they used back then?
Oh, very good. Old-fashioned, horrible battery.
I mean, are these like the old, like, the D-sized batteries or whatever? Or how do they make those things, like Duracell or something?
This is the orbiter.
Because, I mean, battery technology was so slow for a long time, really till fairly recently.
Yep. This is just some shots of the moon. It's bad. And then, they're supposedly working with these gloves on. Could you do anything with these gloves on? Could you?
It'd be tough.
Right? Here's a question. Could you go to the bathroom? Because they do have a zipper on the sweat on it, an airtight zipper made of plastic. Okay. Why do they have a zipper on an airtight spacesuit?
Well, in case you got to go, you're in a pinch on the moon.
Yeah, Dave.
I mean,
right here. I know. Artemis
silly.
Boots. Look are these some LL Bean? Look, are these airtight? These are the new, suits that are going to wear to the moon.
So when were these taken? Is this like 20
here?
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
They got to at least stay ahead of movies, to engage the imagination.
Movies are ahead of them.
Yeah.
This is what I call a false flag. It's just a whole nother.
So let's talk about that. Is there a lot of wind on the moon?
Well, when they went by the flag, it waved, so there's supposedly no air. How could that happen? And if you look at this flag carefully, it's wet. It like rained or something. So how do you have a wet flag on the moon?
You got to put your flag there.
Yep.
So what about the return? Let me ask you a question. So if we have if there's the spaceship that was waiting for the guys when they were on the moon, like does the moon rotate as well, or is it just sitting there waiting on them?
The moon, it's orbiting the moon, and so they timed it perfectly where they just met and they were able to connect, right? And then we see the when we're all waiting, everyone's watching on TV, and then all of a sudden the parachute comes through the sky.
Right.
Now the lunar module, the lander or whatever, the capsule is coming with its heat shield down. Like, what is keeping it oriented? Why isn't it tumbling? But let's say they have some technology to keep it. It's super hot. It's coming in at thousands of miles an hour. Let's say the atmosphere does slow it down a little bit. How much would it slow it down? How much slower would it get? Right. Some things will come in like the 2-ton or the multi-ton tank from the space shuttle made of steel. It'll atomize, but this capsule will slow down so it doesn't atomize because it has a heat shield. How come it's not atomizing? Right. And then when those parachutes come out, those little thin silk parachutes, they would be shredded in a second. You can't deploy a parachute. So earlier that day, everyone's watching. We have this going on in the sky, perhaps. I don't know. This is a big tanker plane, and look at that. They drop it out of an airplane, and everyone on the ground is like, here it comes. They can't see this airplane. It's up too high. It's above the clouds. And then here comes the lunar module. Parachutes come out. Things barely moving. Okay. These are the little parachutes. Then the big parachutes come out, and then it lands. And sometimes one of the parachutes doesn't open, right? But it's never any problem, right? If this thing was going super fast, Dave, these would be shredded in a second. Bam. This thing is falling at a very, not that fast. As fast as a free fall skydiver, maybe. Right?
Wow.
Look, I mean, think, people.
Now, when are these tests here going? Is this for Artemis or is this?
No, this is the Apollo. This is
from Apollo.
This was testing for Apollo. Now, this is an Apollo landing. This is an actual Apollo landing. Okay. And now this thing's super hot. Where's the steam when it hits the water? Okay. Never any steam. That's a pretty hard slam, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's on there. Like maybe they drop it out of an airplane with guys on there, or maybe it's all just fake. We watch it land, and then they go to another scene where they have a guys that they were just on a boat. It was just put in the water. Okay.
When I was in high school, they used to have it all the like proms and stuff like that. They'd have the condenser. Like this little ramp, the car on it, because they're kind of convince you to wear your seatbelt. It went at 10 miles an hour, and it would about feel like it was going to knock your teeth out. When that thing goes zoom, boom. That had to be going more than 10 miles an hour.
Yeah. This is well, I'll show you the one with like William Shatner coming back from his trip up to space. Unbelievable, right? This is actual footage, okay, of the orbiter, right? Let's go back and watch it again. This is actual footage of look at this thing. Watch this thing, the motions that it makes.
Looks like it's on a wire.
This is being filmed from the is this the lunar lander? It's from the orbiter, and it's coming in. This is what we watched. This is so fake. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's all fake. So this is when it's taking off. Something weird. I mean, I could watch this stuff all day, and then you can analyze it all day, right? Here is from NASA's website. We took their picture off of their server.
Okay.
Live on this is on a live stream, so you can't say we faked it. And then we put it in Photoshop and we cranked it up, and there's that square. Okay. There's that square. Since then, they've removed that picture and replaced it with one that was silhouetted better. Therefore,
at least they're trying.
Well, that's pretty good.
I mean, at least they got some ambition. They're not just like spitting on you and telling you it's raining.
Right. And people are like, how do you fake it? I mean, this is the guy Dustin Question Everything or whatever his thing is, but it's all done with a green screen. Look, he's on the moon. That's more believable than what they showed us.
Careful, Dustin, you have no suit on, dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna explode. Look at that.
Yeah. And here is Japan's this is them. They filmed the Earthrise while they were orbiting. Okay. David, could you do a better job than this? And it's always a perfectly full Earth too, right? How come it's not a partial Earth? Like the sun's off to the side. It's always a perfect full Earth, right? It's always at exactly 12 noon, If you can't see this fake, I can't help you.
Where's the sun supposed to be in the shot? Back behind us, shining behind us, directly on the moon, lined up.
Directly behind.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2,
so
3.
Why is the moon just lit up? I mean, you could claim that it's just skimming across it, right? And then, of course, we had that scene with Buzz Aldrin on Conan when he goes, I watched you land on the moon. He goes, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You watched an animation. He goes, there was no TV cameras up there. And so they're backpedaling even on mainstream TV, right? They're constantly moving the globepost back. So if you look up Conan on, on Buzz Aldrin on Conan, and again, a lot of people say that Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing. His daughter claims that he didn't do it because it would be better. I kind of siding with her, but Stanley Kubrick at the moon landing was filmed. You've seen the whistleblower, the NASA whistleblower, the guy that
just recently here.
Yeah, the one from Bart Sabrell. It's actually very good. It's on the app. It's under the Moon Nonsense button, and they said it was filmed, I think, 12 to 15 months before it was ever aired. So it was filmed almost over a year in advance. Well, at that same time, Kubrick was making a movie about the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they contracted Kubrick to make a movie about the moon, and the CIA is going in there and goes, "Oh, okay," taking notes. Like, all right, do this, do it. So they got ideas from him. They used his brilliance where maybe he was completely unaware, or maybe they were just like asking him questions. I think that might be more of the case. Don't know though.
So who are all the guys in that shot? Can you break them down?
Yeah, that's you got a NASA administration guy. Let me see. You got a NASA. Who is this guy? I blocked on my screen. He's missing. Is that the mission control guy? Then we got this is an astronaut.
Okay.
This is Arthur C. Clarke, an author. Okay. You got Stanley Kubrick, and then you have I can't see that for some reason. Why is that so small on my screen?
But basically, they're all walking, and is that supposed to be?
This is in Hollywood somewhere.
It's in a Hollywood film lot, right? I mean, I've seen this shot quite a few times before.
It's pretty interesting. So senior administrator for the Apollo project, this guy, right here.
So your feeling is Kubrick was making his movie, and they sort of just stole the principles and ideas of how to do it, and they recreated that in their own lot.
Right.
But he wasn't necessarily involved, other than maybe they just stole his plays.
Maybe he completely filmed it. I don't know. I wasn't there, so it's hard to say. It's very hard to say. Yeah. And the other thing is, why don't we see stars from space? Shouldn't space look like this from the moon? Right? This is space from Earth. How come space is like this from the moon? How come we don't see stars?
Because of atmosphere.
Atmosphere. That leads to a flat Earth.
I would tell people again, if you're listening, I don't know if you missed it earlier, but if you go to flatearthdave.com, go to his website. There's a link, and I don't know, maybe you can download it by going directly to iTunes or something else, but he has an app that is just an endless source of being able to go through and look at these things. And it's categorized in sections. It's no matter where you land on all this stuff and what your feelings are, I don't know if anybody's 100% on anything, but it gives you enough to chew on, to really have good conversations about what is and what is not possible.
100%. On the app, one of the moon nonsense button, it'll show you all of the videos about the moon landing that YouTube is hiding from you. You Google moon landing hoax, you're just going to get all of the nonsense from the Mythbusters and from Nat Geo, all deception. And then ask yourself, hey, you guys all know that the government is not here for your good. So why are they hiding? Why are they hiding this stuff?
Yeah, and if YouTube's a fair shooter, then it should be based on views. What does the public have an interest in? If you just look at YouTube and you Google some of these things, and put it into the YouTube search, you would think no one in the world is interested in anything other than what Anthony Fauci has to say. No one in the world's interested in anything other than, the mainstream state approved narrative, which for me, that is just increases my curiosity. Why do you only show this? And then are you saying that nobody's ever made a video debunking any of this stuff, that no one that's ever driven the views up?
Yeah. When you search anything moon landing hoax or anything with the words flat earth in it, you get the same videos. All of the mainstream, videos and the paid, what we call anti-flat earthers, conspiracy people. And their arguments are fallacious, but they speak with a nice British or Australian accent, and they speak very condescendingly, and the weak minds will be like, oh, well, that guy sounds very sophisticated. I better step in line. That accent is pretty strong. Okay. But they literally, this is the moon lander. I just put some eyes on it. Okay. Look at this thing. This is horrible. Horrible. It's supposed to be airtight. Would you put your kid in there and then submerge it in a lake?
No.
No.
So Dave, you said before we close, you were going to show us, for those of you that like, hey, for sure I don't want to hear anything about the Earth and its shape and cosmology, you may want to tune out now. I don't know, but he has a foolproof piece of evidence to show us on the Earth that we were going to get to before we close up. So make sure we get to that before we're done today.
Let's go there right now. And again, don't believe anything I say. Please go research it yourself. Check out my website. If you want to learn about the flat Earth and you don't want to get the app, just go down to the crash course. Turn off Netflix for a week and start watching those videos. It's scientifically impossible to watch just 3 of them and remain believing in the globe, right? And the thing is, why does it matter? I still have to go to work on Monday. When you understand the connection on how important this deception is and how this keeps us away from the creator, even though like a lot of people are like, hey, I got my relationship with the creator. You're not seeing the big picture. You're not living to the truest potential. When you understand what this realm is, or even understand what it's not, and that's a ball floating through a godless universe or a distant god, then everything starts to come together. And life is truly amazing. So it matters. And if you don't believe me, on the app, go to Why the Lie on the frequently asked questions section. Those videos there alone will blow your mind. All right. So I'm going to ask you a little question here.
All right. Fire away.
So wherever you are on the Earth, you can consider that the top of the Earth, right? Wherever you are, that's the top for you, right? So you're on an airplane. And let's just say, we're here in, we'll call this, because the flight I'm going to show you was from Germany. So you're here over Germany and it's nighttime and you're looking forward and you see some stars over here. So these stars are directly in front of you pretty much close to the horizon. You with me, Dave?
Okay. Sure. Follow you. Okay.
So you fly for 10 hours or so and you're following the curve of the Earth. Okay. So now the stars you're looking at are over here. Those are the ones that are in front of you. These stars are above you. With me?
Sure.
That's what a ball would require. As you fly over, those stars are now above you. Okay. So here's a flight from, I believe it was Germany to Brazil. And the pilot did a time lapse for us. And the stars are rotating to the right a little bit, but you're flying over on his journey. For why this is recording, the stars should risen over his head over 45 degrees. Now, this is what Google Earth says it should look like. All of these stars should be rising up. Now, this computer simulation shows you what a ball requires to show you. If you're going to fly over a ball, these stars should rise up. But we actually, if you track, we have some videos that track them. They're actually going down. All of them should be rising up over your head, but they don't. Now, the anti-flat Earth people, they come out, they go, that's because the spin of the Earth is negating it. Well, the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. The Earth is going 500 miles an hour. It might slow it down if you were traveling east, right? If you were traveling east, okay? But it would still be rising, but this isn't traveling east. It's traveling south, okay? And the other thing is, if it did negate it, when the pilot flies back, it should go twice as fast. Because if you're going with the spin, then when you fly back, it should be going against it. So they should rise twice as fast. We have videos in both directions. No rising at all. The stars in front of you stay the stars in front of you the entire trip around the globe, or as reality dictates, across the plane.
Man.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest then for people? Some of you guys may be the first conversation you've heard on this. Some of you maybe have heard a couple and you don't know. What would you suggest is like day one? Or say somebody shares this with their buddy at work and they're like, I don't know, maybe,
don't do
like,
that.
What is the next thing to do? What's the process? What do people do first?
It's all people have different motivations and different things. Like, hey, if you're like, hey, Dave brought up some points, and you can go, and if you watch, the trolls are going to jump into your chat and they're going to comment on everyone's videos, and all they're going to do is make insults and empty claims with no proof. And if you go check their channel, there's zero content on their channel. Where they just create that channel to comment, to teach you, to help save you from Dave Weiss, the scammer, for $3. Right? My app is $3. Okay. But they literally will get there. They find, like, when you air this, they'll find it before I find it. Okay. It's amazing. I have these dedicated trolls that show up. It's kind of hilarious. And I pray for them. All right. Because their life must be very, very good.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things you can do. Go to flatearthdave.com. Don't buy the app. Go to the crash course and start watching those videos. Guaranteed, after you watch 2 or 3 of those videos, you're going to end up getting the app because you're going to want it, because everybody has this in their pocket all the time. And when you're stuck in line somewhere, stuck in traffic, on the train, whatever, you can watch the videos. Every day there's a daily video right here that shows up. Just click that thumbnail. This is what I tell people. Get up, have your breakfast, watch the daily video. Usually short ones during the week, longer ones on the weekend. And just watch them for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, I guarantee your mind is going to be blown. You're going to see the world differently, and everything's going to open up for you. I offer 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof, but you got to watch the daily video for 2 weeks. If you don't want to wait the 2 weeks, click the archive button and just go back 14 videos. Okay. And before you send me your proof, you have to hit the question mark button. And when you do that, up come the frequently asked questions. Hey, why the lie? What about gravity? What about seasons? Oops, I just said, what about gravity? What about seasons? Okay. What about, eclipses? All of the questions that you have there. What about meteors and asteroids? Right? Click that and bam, all the information that's being hidden from you. And Dave, as you said, and I don't go through the whole app, but there's all sorts of resources. Here are all of my videos are here. All the ones that are on YouTube are here, but all of my videos are on here. All of my uploads, all of the featured videos, and all of my interviews, including the Rumble and everything, will be on this new button that I just added. So
okay,
that's a blast. And then it does a whole lot of other things. I said books, and people are selling flat earth stuff on here. And what else I have? This is the homeschooling section. Amazing stuff here. Check out this guy. You want to learn about our history? It's called Impossible History. History is hilarious. This guy is called My Lunch Break. Does these 15-minute videos. He takes like certain buildings and looks up the history of them. It's the funniest thing you've ever seen. It's funny, educating, and open up a whole world to you. Tons of stuff on here if you really want to learn. This is college right here. Okay. This is college. You don't need to send your kids to college. This will teach you more about the world than anything else.
Is there a benefit or something people can put in Flyover when they get it? Is it just helps track? I know you got kind of a leaderboard on that.
Yes,
we did it before. A lot of people from the show came and got the app, and it's great for networking. You can find each other on there, but I think we have the
Let's look at it. So this is called the Friend Finder. Let it load for a second, and it shows you all of the other flat earthers around you, and you can message them. You can see their profile. You can say, hey, this guy's offering a job. This guy's looking for a job. This guy, hey, this is a kite surfer, and I can hook up and go kite surfing with them. And so you can meet people. You can do meetups. You can send out broadcast messages to everyone near you. You can do all sorts of stuff. There's chats. There's video chats. Have you checked out the video chats yet, Dave?
No, I'm not seeing video chat.
I'll show you. But here is the referral button. If I hit that middle button, and I have 52 referrals, and my referral code is DITRH. But more importantly, if you go to the leaderboard, let me make that a little bigger. We can see second place, Flyover Conservatives, and I believe your code is Flyover.
I think it's Flyover. Yeah.
Yeah, Flyover. One word, no spaces. So when you download the app, it says, "Do you have our referral code?" Put in Flyover. Let's get him. Let's keep him in front of a man in America who's coming up hot on your heels.
That's good. There's no compensation thing for it. It's just kind of fun to be able to track, to be able to stay together, and those things. So I love the app. It's really good quality. It puts good information out there and good tools for people to be able to look at it. Now, here's the deal. We're not the government. We're going to treat you like an intelligent adult. You can go look at this stuff and then walk away and saying, not for me. Totally cool. But
Yep.
our goal is to put more information on the table and let you take it off, not tell you, hey, here's a couple of crumbs, you can look at it, and we're going to tell you what it is before you even take a look. That's the way the government does. It's high control.
Dave, there's what's really cool in here is these are rooms that people set up for different topics, and not just flat Earth. There's health and all sorts of stuff. And you can message people, you can do video calls, you can do group calls. So I have this group called Beta Test Group, and for some reason there's 238 people in it. It's literally just for testing. And so if I hit this little camera up here, I'm gonna blow away. You're gonna lose the magic of where I really am. And I say, here I am, and I'm actually ringing the group right now, and people jumping on, and you can have these amazing conversations with people, right? So it takes like a minute or so. People start jumping on, but like people say, hey, I'm going to have a call at 3:00 today. And so people will see and they'll be ready and they'll know, but people will start jumping on, and then you can start talking to them. And I've never had a bad conversation on here because everybody on here has something to say, right? Of course,
they're probably the kind of people that have already researched, like, hey, am I going to, do I like seed oils, or is soy good for me, or all these kind of things. They're probably going to have intelligent conversations.
So here is one of my favorite people out in the Flat Earth community. He is all over the app, but I'm going to nominate him head moderator on all of the rooms because he's in every room and he's always the first on it. His name's Run Boston Bear. So if you see him on there, say hello. And soon you'll be able to share pictures and videos and all sorts of stuff. But it's a blast, and it's fun. See you, man. Thanks.
There's no reason to be bored in the world that we live in. And I tell you what, if you look at some of the craziness going on around you, it may be just because they're trying to stay ahead of the curve and squash everything going on. And I think there's so much truth. If you look at the news, what's happened in Michigan these last couple of weeks, last couple of days, actually, Gateway Pundits and stories on it on the 2020 election. You look at stuff going on in Ohio. There's so many things that are coming up in stories and narratives that they got to try to control, that they just smash and put all these things out. And you're like, I think it's less Republican and Democrat in the world, and this person and that person, and Chiefs and Raiders and meat eaters and vegetarians. I mean, it's not all these little crazy binaries. It's kind of those that are just trying to control the money supply and the information supply. And then there's everybody else that's trying to get by. And there's a lot more of us than not. And Dave does a great job of connecting people in this. And you're not required to all come in the room and agree. That's what I love. That's why we have these conversations.
Yeah, and again, you know, the big, if you hear yourself saying, why doesn't matter, I don't care what shape the earth is, I have more important things, know that that's exactly where they want you. When you understand that we are at the center of creation, this place was created for us. We are special. We are powerful. We have God-given rights. The government can't give them to us. We already have them.
Exactly.
Okay. We have the right to travel, the right to have freedom. There's only a couple rules. They're God's rules. Don't kill anybody. Don't get in anybody's face, you know, and help your neighbor. That's it. Those are basically the rules. Okay. Yeah. And if everybody did that, this world would be truly amazing. Not that it isn't already.
It is. And so anyway, I thank you guys all for joining us here on the Conspiracy Conversation. This is like a set apart thing from our daily show of examining the news and culture and current events through the lens of conservative Christian values. This gives us an opportunity, like, hey, let's kind of step outside the lines they tell you got to color in, and let's have this conversation, then walk away at least being able to have better conversations at the water cooler on Monday. Hope you join us every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. We're coming out with a new Conspiracy Conversations. We covered everything from JFK to ancient civilizations, and things are just kind of fun to look at and download. Dave, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being so willing to give your energy and ideas so freely, and appreciate the access that you give us to your world.
One last thing, anybody that we want to find any of my stuff, flatearthdave.com. If you have a podcast or know of a podcast that wants to have this conversation, or maybe they don't even know this conversation exists, send me a note. You go to flatearthdave.com, click book Dave for a show, and you could start the conversation there. You know, send the information, names, or whatever, and we'll try to just expand this conversation. The idea is to reach new audiences, and I'm very appreciative of Dave and Stacy for allowing me on their network to reach some of you. And, most people violently oppose the idea at first. And, Dave probably even lost a few subscribers, but then they come back because over time they end up seeing we've been deceived on levels that we can't even comprehend. And once you see that, it frees you from the matrix.
Yeah, I'm not one's going to cave to a whole lot of peer pressure kind of either way. Like I bought these myself. We don't have I'm not sponsored by Pfizer or any other kind of outside entity. We're kind of free to kind of do what we want to in this space. And I think that's what people really appreciate and value. So Dave, thank you very much for your time, man. I appreciate it. Can't wait to have you back again.
It's over. He got it. It might be over. Whoa!
And thank you, Flyover family, for joining us on this journey. I'm having a blast having these conversations, and some of you guys have great things to say and great questions, and I've really enjoyed even the conversations with you in the comment section. So please like and share this with someone who you know would appreciate it, and maybe you would like to have better conversations with. Share it with somebody and say, hey, let's get together and have lunch and talk about this. Maybe these guys are crazy. I don't know. I just know that I'm very interested in the things that they say you're not allowed to be interested in. One of the things we talked about on the show quite a bit is your food, your health, and your finances. Those are three big categories that a lot of things kind of come and go. And, how you wash your car or something, probably isn't the main thing. But your food, your finances, and your health are three areas we focus on a lot. When it comes to your finances, we have a connection with a guy that I've known for over 25 years. His father was a mentor to my wife and I. He has 2 PhDs and focuses directly on your finances, how to help you get out of what I call fake fiat currencies, which are, believe it or not, are crashing. If you can't see it around you every day, it's not just inflation. It's a global situation. There's never been a fiat currency that's lasted long term. How do you get out of the way of that, even if you have just a little bit of money or you have an IRA or a retirement fund, into something that's real, which is actually bullion, silver, not collectible coins with a great story from some shipwreck or a picture of Elvis or something like that on it. Actual silver that's worth, the spot price per ounce when you go to sell it in the future. As this goes down, this goes up. Pretty simple. But if you want to have a conversation about how this actually works, how it affects you, every month now for a long time, we've taken a little bit of money and moved it from fake money into physical silver. And that is the move right now at this point. So you go to Kirk Elliott at flyovergold.com, his landing page. There's some videos, some PDFs that you can look at, but you can enter your information and they'll just reach out to you. He has an incredible team. You can maybe talk with Kirk himself and find out what is the best thing for you. What do you need to do to not just get by right now, but to be able to thrive? And I think we're going to be in a situation where when you've moved from fake currency to real silver, the world is moving that. Nations are backing their currency with gold and silver. Nations like China, India, Russia, Brazil, South Africa. They're making that move to back it with gold and silver because they want to get away from the US dollar. A lot of reasons why that happens, and they can help you figure out what's the best way for you to be able to navigate that as the currencies change, as CBDCs are introduced, as there's a global CBDCs, and as individual nations go with digital currencies like Russia just has recently, one of the number one largest purchasers of gold over the last several years. Not the United States, it's these foreign countries, and so we need to be in something real and tangible as well to protect ourselves against that. Again, go to flyovergold.com, enter your information, set up an appointment for a completely free consultation, very low pressure. Then you just walk away and say, hey, what's the best for me? Pray about it, think about it, but weigh out the information. What's the best way for you to do it easily and effortlessly? They walk you through and help you. And then when it's time to get back out of that into something else, they can help you do that as well. It's a long-term relationship that you're going to be glad you had. Again, go to flyovergold.com. Reach out to Kirk Elliott today. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Thank you for being a part of this show. Again, like it, share it with somebody. Come back again every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and we're going to be having more of these conversations, digging into the things that you're most curious about and they don't let you talk about. We'll see you again next time.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Flyover Conservatives podcast with David and Stacy Whited. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment below. Lastly, if you enjoyed today's podcast, share with those who came to mind. Be blessed and make it a great day.